Hey everyone, Sean here. We're here today to talk about rust. Okay, I don't know if you've been watching the channel. If you have, you might have been familiar. I had this XW boot and also the bonnet. The owner came to me. It was a pretty original car. He didn't want to get too involved in the rest of the body because he likes to keep original paint where he can. But the bonnet and the boot were showing significant rust. He'd actually had it done somewhere else a few years prior, and I think it was just to try and do a quick tidy up, but it just within 2 years there was rust bubbling everywhere. And one thing I've noticed about rust, I don't know if you've noticed it as well, but I've never seen big holes of rust like just on the direct body skins. Normally where you do see them is down in the corners of the doors. I've got a little door here off the MGB. Normally it's down in these corners, yeah, on both sides, or even all the way along the bottom of the doors. Sometimes you'll see them along the front edges of the bonnets. I mean, you can pretty much start anywhere, but where I predominantly see the problem is if you look at a plastic bumper bar, they never seem to rust out, you know? Plastic just doesn't rust. But when we look at steel, essentially what we've got on top is we've painted plastic on top. And so why are we seeing rust when we've essentially covered the steel with plastic? So what I tend to find is when these cars are painted at the factory, they're already painted fully assembled. And so what that means is the boot lid, it's a complete boot lid. The skin's already on, yeah? Same on the bonnet, yeah? The doors are already fully assembled. And in the old days, with all the classic cars that we love, they were all painted by hand, which meant they would literally grab the door. It would actually be on the car, and they would swing it open. They'd run the spray gun under, around, shut the door, and then they're on the paint on the outside. Now, a few of the issues you'll find is when film thickness is too small. So after you put your primer and you put some coat of color, if you take a measurement of the paint itself, if it's like 60 microns or less, water can actually penetrate and rust it. So that's one of the problems that you get, especially on the underside of doors and stuff like that, because people didn't reach down. But now we've got technology, they're all done by robots and that. So what are some of the problems we still face? Well, we're still painting the panels, even with the computers, with them fully assembled. So everywhere in between the seams here, or even down inside in here, normally when you're looking inside, you can normally see either like a real light coat of primer or nothing at all, like bare steel. And so what I did with these is I actually unpicked the spot welds along here, and then I folded this up, just that edge of the skin, all the way around. And you can just take your time, just slowly start at one corner and just slowly lifting it, not too hard at once, otherwise it will bend the outside of the skin. But I separated them, and I'll show photos of it, and you can see the rust line literally followed the path that all the bracing was on, because you've got an inner and outer skin where they're touching and neither of them actually have any paint. And then you get a humid day or a rainy day, or even you might be really fussy and you open up your bonnet and you're gurney out the engine bay to keep it nice and clean. You're actually putting all the water in between those skins and they start to rust. So what I did is actually paint them separate. With the skins apart, I actually painted the insides of both. So if you were to look at this, and I've got the photos, the inside of both of those, all in there, it's all been painted properly. And then from there, I then dressed these seams back over and then painted those. So they're pretty much sealed inside and out on those seams. And then I just ground immediately where the spot welds were going to go. So that was the only place that didn't have tons of paint. Now also the same on the doors. If I can show you, the inside of doors are the same. I'll just put a light on. And when we come down in here, you can see there, the bottom of those doors have got no paint. So if you're going to restore, a lot of the time it's the same deal where people will get the door, they'll get it blasted, they'll throw like a quick coat of epoxy, they'll point the gun wherever they can, but it's not going to get everywhere. And it's right down in those little spots where the inner and the outer skin meet that have zero protection. And so how do we combat that? Well, if the car's worth, you know, $40,000, $50,000, you're probably not going to go this far in depth. But if it's a very expensive car, it's always a good idea. If you can separate those skins, you can paint the inside door skin and the frame. You can paint it all properly and then put the skin back on. And then that way you've got full paint protection. Not only that, but the water's going to just literally beat off it, rather than, because traditionally there's a window channel and it slides down the rubber, it drips straight down and it sits right in there. And so they're always going to rust out. So that's what I'm trying to do. So tell me if you've got different methods of doing it. I know others like to just do like fish oil in the bottoms, but I just think if you've got enough film build up on both sides of the steel, it's almost like the car's not steel when it comes to water getting on it, because the water can't penetrate anywhere. So that's my fix for now. Yeah, if you've done something different to that and you want to share it with me, by all means share it. But yeah, so I'll do probably another short that'll just have like images of the boot and the bonnet being painted up and how I went about that process. So if you want to have a look at that too, that'll come up shortly. But yeah, all right, so I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks a lot. Bye.